Hi, I'm Poe Bronson. I'm the managing director of IndieBio, and today for Unexpected Biotech, I have two great founders who've come through IndieBio. I have the CEO of Notco, Matthias Muchnik. Hi, Matthias. And I have the CEO and co-founder of Geltor, Alex Lorestani. Hi, Alex. How are you? I was do a quick roundtable of intros real quick and tell people what you do. Alex, why don't you start, go to Matthias, and I'll follow up with myself a little bit.
Sure thing. I'll make it quick. Alex Lorestani, co-founder and CEO of Geltor, started the company in 2015 with my co-founder Nick Buzanoff. We were both working on our PhDs at Princeton at the time, and we're excited about building the protein partner of choice for the consumer product industry. And fast forward, 6 years, Geltor powered products sold around the world, and just getting started. So excited to be with you both today.
Thanks, Alex. Matthias?
Yeah, we are disrupting the food industry, and we developed a machine learning algorithm that has allowed us to create a company that produces product faster, better, and more accurate than anyone else in the space. With presence in Chile, Argentina, Brazil, the US, markets with 4 different categories of products, $125 million raised to the date. And looking forward to disrupting more and more countries and really achieving mainstream positioning and mass market opportunities with plant-based products.
And congrats for the US launch, and thank you for disrupting our food system. It's much appreciated. Now, unexpected biotech, the thesis of today is when we think of biotech traditionally, we think of therapeutics, and we think primarily of the main place that biotech happens is a medical center, academia, hospitals, healthcare system, right? But biotech turned out to be a technology that could disrupt essentially all the biomass of the planet. Anything with a genome, in fact, was the domain of biotech. So there we're talking about almost the entire surface of the world, 550 billion cubic tons of biomass, whether that's the 10 million animalian and insect species or the trillion bacterial species, or it's the fungi, or in Matthias, in your case, the 391,000 species of plants that make up 80% of the biomass on the planet. And everything with a genome became suddenly a category for biotech to explore. And at IndieBio, one of the systems we created was essentially a way for people to take biotech beyond the realm of therapeutics, beyond the realm of the medical centers. So we'll come back to that in a second. I just want to ask you both, why the food sector of all sectors has been a space where we've seen this blow up? Why not in materials or in energy? These are all coming, and or timber or wood for houses. Why do you feel like the food sector has been so lit on fire these last few years?
I can take it, if you allow me to, Alex. I think in my perspective, food for the last 50 years has been in the hands of a few selling overly complex products to people that are totally disconnected to what they were buying, where regulators became deregulated. This is the same story that, in my perspective, as a finance major, this was exactly the same that happened in the finance industry back in 2008 with subprime crisis.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You have exactly the same red flags. This is an industry that didn't innovate for 50 years, that produced products worse than our grandparents did. So everything, and actually, kind of like relating to our company, everything should be called not. Everything probably that you buy in the grocery store is not what you think it is, or what it was at one point, right? So it's 50 years lagging on innovation, lagging on technology, lagging on the use of science to really start, creating the future or even the present of food. We are operating in a technology that is from the 1950s in the R&D. 3 guys in a lab coat in an experimental kitchen, doing trial and error and reading research papers of 1980s on how to apply soy to replace animal-based ingredients. I mean, of course, it's a system that was run for 50 years in an obsolete technology, and the consequences were vast in terms of climate change, in the use of resources, in sickness to just human health. And so, of course, 50 years of lagging. And so that's why it's being disrupted with companies like ours, with Alex and many others as well.
Alex, do you have feelings about why the food and nutrition sector has been such a rapid adoption of these new technologies?
I mean, I think in addition to what Matthias has mentioned, just seeing that as center of gravity of where consumers are demanding, right, these kinds of products, the value that these kinds of products deliver, has been amazing, right? And over the past 5-10 years, this going from sort of a whisper to a shout has really, I think, enabled a lot of companies like ours to help make a difference. And these are things that consumers that are asking for that really only biology can deliver, right? So, I think we're of the mindset. I was having dinner with one of my colleagues last night. It's like, this has to work, right? Like this, and that's such an exciting idea. Consumers are demanding it. Biology's there to help, and it frankly has to work.
Yeah, and consumers are voting with their dollars. And one of the things consumers do is they eat 3 times a day, perhaps more. And with that behavior, by making a small shift in their behavior, they can actually amplify the effect of what they're doing. By just making, I want to actually ask you guys both about animal free for a second here, but by shifting, say, to animal free in some of what you're doing as a consumer, you can amplify that 365 days a year, 3 times a day. So to both of you, animal free is part of a big part of what you do. Can you explain to the audience a bit about why that's important to you and your company, but also how you message that in our world today? Matthias?
Yeah, sure. So more than animals itself, we see it as middlemen, right? We're taking out the middlemen of what food production looked like for 2,000 years, 4,000 years, many thousands of years. Obtaining our milk, cheese, eggs, and meat from animals with the technology that we have today is absolutely unbearable. And with the amount of population and the limited use of, the limited resources we have to, because at the end of the day, when you think about the food system very rationally, is the production of nutrition for this population to exist. And so when you use inefficient machines, you get, kind of like the hurdle of that, which is, uses of water, deforestation, water scarcity, ocean depletion, loss of species. All of those consequences are coming because of the middleman that you built to create the products that we love. So it's not the things that we want, that we love to eat that need to change. It's the way we make the food that we love to eat. So in our case, putting the plants and this biodiversity and exploring it and understanding that there might be a combination of plants that you never thought of before that could create the flavor, the textures, the smells, the colors of the things that we love to eat. Well, why not, right? So that's a little bit on our take. The animal is just an excuse, and of course, it relies. You can also don't care about animals, right? But you care about yourself, your planet, your sons, the future generations. You do care about something, right? And so doesn't matter how you looked at it and what's your purpose and what you believe. Using animals today, it's not necessary. So let's take the animal out of the equation. That's our kind of like motto. So yeah.
It's a beautiful message. Alex, how do you guys at Geltor message around importance of animal free?
What we think about, I think that this is pretty consistent with what Matthias has expressed is, what if we weren't beholden to these sources of protein that, we happen to have hundreds of millions or billions of copies of today, right? And instead go out and find the best proteins for the job that, the consumers are looking to have fulfilled. And when you go and look and answer that question, it is almost without fail not the same proteins that you would get from these industrially farmed animals. So we always come back to how can we create the best product possible? Let's disassociate from what the status quo is, right? Lots of challenges there. Everybody understands that. But how can we just focus on using biology to really unlock what the best possible solution here is? And it's an amazing moment that biology can actually start to deliver this now at scale.
So where you're taking us conveniently is right back to the original premise that if we thought of biotech as healthcare through the lens of nutrition, through the lens of bioactive compounds, so whether it is the proteins or how they're broken down into peptides that are bioactive in the body, or in your case, Matthias, all of the incredible compounds of plants down to the small RNAs, that in both cases we have compounds that alter the gene expression of the human being who's consuming them, and create beneficial, desirable effects for better health that in fact does have a long-term benefit to the healthcare system. So Alex, why don't you just explain a little bit for people about the role of collagen in its bioactivity and its potential there, and or other proteins of interest to Geltor?
Yeah. Well, first, like framing this as just an amazing moment to be able to think about how proteins that we make and ingredients that other companies make interact with our bodies, the human cells, and microbial communities that are a part of us. We think really hard about this throughout all the businesses we work on, whether that's in the skincare industry, the personal care industry, food and nutrition industry, understanding the connection between these proteins that we make and human health is foundational. So, what collagen has historically, this is like an amazing sort of, biology detective story, like what you can look back and say for, people have been using collagen for like a long time, right? And you can kind of trace through history what sorts of conditions or health benefits people have been ascribing to it, right? Not in a super scientific way until more recently, and then start to unpack that, right? Use like modern science and the ability to design proteins to actually go after these opportunities more specifically. So if you look at the categories where collagen has been used for a long time, health, skin, hair health, other, kind of gut health areas. These are places where we're really only beginning to scratch the surface of the sort of like mechanistic understanding of how that stuff works, and what the best collagen for delivering those benefits looks like. And because now we're not, limited to what you can take from a cow, a pig, a chicken, or a fish, like you can actually find the active component that confers, some of these benefits. And this is, this is one of the things that I think makes the food as medicine sort of opportunity really exciting to think about. Excited to be a part of it.
Matthias, for you, your legendary AI, Giuseppe, delivers sensory experiences for texture and flavor. But how much and how does it account for the sort of nutritional benefits of your ingredients in what you're delivering to your end product?
Yeah, I mean, when you think about a food product, um, it's not unrelatable, or it's not, there are underlying patterns between the nutritionals and the sensorial, dimensions, right? So you cannot have a chocolate that has 0 calories, 0 sugars, and tastes like a chocolate, right? So in the macronutrients, you have to have a physical chemical composition that relates to the product you're trying to mimic. Otherwise, there's a lot of explanation of what the product is throughout the nutritionals, right? And the macro and the micro. But you might notice some amazing things as well happening, which is, we focus on taste. So this is, I think, something that it's on the mission of the company. We want to change, kind of like move the needle of the environmental impact and the use of resources. We understand very well that if we don't create mass market products, we're not moving the needle. So we're basically not complying with the mission that we're here to comply with. And being that said, taste is number one. The number two is the experience. It's not even nutrition. So the first is taste, the second is experience, the third is nutrition. The fourth is price, affordability, and the fifth is channels. And all of the rest are nice to have: non-GMOs, gluten-free, no added sugars. There's many other things. If we don't put this, a tasty product in the hands of the consumer, we will always need to explain why plant-based doesn't taste very well, right? And just put in front of the, to this new generation of products, plant-based cannot be the value proposition. It has to be the taste. Otherwise, we won't ever get to the mass market. So what you said on the algorithm, and not just the algorithm, it's the people as well, the food scientists, the chemists, the physicists, all of the guys who are doing, because, tech by itself, not great. When you put it with the synergy of human beings and what they know in the scale-up process, what they know, in the experience side, there's many things that are related to the scale-up processes that are not in the algorithm today that will be, because we're building databases all around the algorithm. You will find that in this synergy, we kind of like deposited a lot of value, and the value is in the products, and people are loving it. And we have double-digit market shares in many categories of products. And it's because it's super tasty and it's at an affordable price. And nutrition, yeah, I mean, there's many things that we still are not there,
Yeah, but I think what you were saying there was, though, we are evolutionary designed to pursue in those peak flavors nutrition. That why it tastes good is because it's good for us. And by making things taste good, they taste better for us. So you mentioned chocolate, right? Like you got to have these high theobromines that are really beneficial to your health to make it really chocolatey. They go hand in hand. They're not separate things. The taste and nutrition are not separate categories. Yeah. So Matthias, tell us a little bit about the move to New York.
Sure. I mean, we always knew the US was going to be a big priority for the company. We've been, founded for 5 years now, batch of 2017 at Indy Bio, San Francisco, raised $120 million. We're at a run rate of over $30 million. And we are looking into ending up this year in the US with around 8,000 stores, including Target, Safeway, Stop and Shop, Ahold, and many other flats. So really, really relentlessly executing in the US. We see this trend, we see the success case and the appetite for a plant-based meal that tastes like milk, not only from the retail side, but also from the food service, coffee shops all around the country that really want this product to come, because it delivers a very creamy experience, very, interesting product. So that's where we're going, Paul. We settled up New York City as the commercial arm or headquarter of the company, but we still have our San Francisco office. It's in Mission. It's a more tech R&D oriented facility where we have the head of, actually our CTO and co-founder of the company is running things over there. So yeah.
Good. Well, congratulations. Amazing execution. I want to ask one last question for you. I want to focus a little bit to the young entrepreneurs in the audience. And ask you for some advice, but I'll try to frame it a little bit, which is Geltor and Notco are in the market now. You're becoming heavyweights, right? And you both knew this time, Matthias, when there was Oatly and Beyond out there and people thought Notco couldn't compete with them. And Alex, people probably thought you couldn't compete with Zymergen and Ginkgo, but you did, and you have. So to the young entrepreneurs out there who are sort of worried of like, maybe all the great ideas are taken, maybe all the opportunities are taken, how do I compete with such great talent and great companies as yours? What advice do you give to those young entrepreneurs?
If the idea is taken, it's not a great idea, but you need to execute it better than the rest, period, right? Or you can actually create a technology around the same idea, which will get you faster to the Rome, that you want to go. I think Notco, it's a little bit that. I mean, we decided to go through a different pathway that it's a little bit, that has taken us faster to get where Beyond or Impossible or Oatly are right now. And it's a matter of a great vision, but also a great execution. If you execute better than the rest, you will become one of a good contender. Because at the end of the day, I mean, the pie is very big. And it's not going to be a game of one winner takes all. It's going to be 3, 4, 5 of them will take, the big chunks, That's the way I see it. And so if you are one of those 5 guys, believe me, you're going to take a very, very big chunk of everything. So execution to me is one of the key drivers that would set up your company to be better than the rest.
Alex, what advice do you have for young entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I mean, I think go for it, right? This is not zero sum, particularly when it comes to building a company with a biology kind of bent here. We're in the very early phases of biology continuing to transform industries globally. So go for it, because the way that your idea gets expressed and ultimately molded into an amazing company, it is going to change in ways that you might not be able to anticipate, that will look very different a few years from now. So go for it. This is a really big place to play, and if you continue to be relentless, like, you'll find what your true strengths are relative to competitors.
And I'll just add a little bit of this to the audience. I would say here at IndieBio, we're 159 companies in, 159 experiments in. And we too, since we don't fund competitors to our alumni, we are forced, in the same way you are, to dig deeper and look harder into markets that are yet unexplored, and find things that perhaps aren't as popular today, but will be popular with the inevitable challenges the world is facing in human and planetary health. And it forces us to dig deeper and dig farther. And so we just encourage you to say that there is so much terrain that is available to go be an entrepreneur in and build value in. So to Alex and Matthias, thank you very much for joining us today in our session here for the entrepreneurial community of New York. And thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thanks. Great to see you both.